The Redevelopment Agency meeting of December 6, 2006 is called to order. The meeting has been properly noticed and posted in compliance with the open meeting law. Item number 3 is approval of the final minutes by reference to the regular Redevelopment Agency meeting of October 18, 2006. May I have a motion to approve, please?
Yes, Your Honor. No additions or deletions. I'd like a motion for approval, please.
Thank you. Let's vote on that, please. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 4 is an abeyance item, discussion and possible action regarding an estoppel certificate to MidFirst Bank concerning the owner participation agreement dated October 16, 1987 with Westar Charleston Associates. This is in Ward 3. Mr. Adams?
Yes, Scott Adams, Director of the Office of Business Development. This item's been obeyed twice now, and I think it was obeyed under the premise that there was concerns that maybe the owner of this property there was evidence that maybe they were not living up to the spirit of the covenant that was placed in the agreement restricting future use of the apartment complex to senior housing. What we're being asked to do here is provide an estoppel certificate certifying that all things regarding the current agreement between the redevelopment agency and the owner are in effect in good order. And we did receive a copy of a letter from the owner that went out to their tenants indicating they do plan to maintain the project as a senior housing project, and it's my understanding that a representative would be here today to state on record that fact, and so I would defer to the representative.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Amy Jerpy, agent for owner.
All right, be happy to hear from you.
I represent the management company, and we plan on managing the property as a senior community.
Okay, I have a question, Your Honor.
All right.
I've had 4 or 5 of our senior citizens live at this location. They're in there on Section 8, and they have to have their Section 8 renewed every year, 2 years, whatever it is. And I think there's 19 homes in there, or 19 residents in there now under Section 8.
Yeah.
Is there any, at this time, is there any ideas of changing that at all?
Basically, we just have our qualifications. They will be required to, fill out our application and our standards, and if they qualify, they can continue to live there with their Section 8 vouchers.
Well, I don't know what the qualifications are. Okay, and I don't know whether all these 19 people could continue to live there under your qualifications?
Absolutely.
Well, but I'm saying I don't know what your qualifications would be, what they would have to do. But what I'm saying is that we have 19 people who have been living there, and you may come in there and have different standards that they're not going to be able to live up to. I don't want to move out of it, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
I feel like that a lot of these people, they've lived there for a few years. They feel like it's home. They don't want to move. Right. They're scared to death. And I don't blame them, I guess. If I was that age and didn't have a large income, I'd be scared where I was going to be living tomorrow, too. So my concern is if, under Section 8, if they, what would allow you, I guess, what kind of qualification would you have to make them move out?
Income requirements, proving income, proving that they can afford, their dwelling.
Well, but again, though, Section 8, we're helping them because they are low income.
Well, we closed on this property on the 16th of October, and we've had 2 Section 8 tenants that have been renewed. So we haven't forced anybody to move. We haven't gave notice to anybody that we will not accept the Section 8 vouchers.
I guess what I need is, I need assurance on record that we're not going to go in there and you're not going to change some qualifications tomorrow or the next day to not allow these people to renew their contracts. And I can understand you if you want to go in there and put higher qualifications on a new tenant or something like that. I can see that. I can support that. But somebody that's been living there and you change the qualifications to make that then ineligible to live there, it would really bother me. I would feel like I'm part of moving them out. I don't want to do that. I want a comfort level there to know that those 19 people that are living there now under Section 8 are going to be able to stay there.
Well, I've had two, like I said, I've had two people that were on Section 8 that have been renewed. We gave the required 60-day notice to HUD, and they complied, and the tenants have remained there on new 12-month lease terms. So I don't foresee any problems with the remaining 18 that are there on Section 8 for the future. I don't see any problems with renewing their
Okay.
contracts.
Can I make a condition on this, that during this renewal, of these 19 people, if there's any problems, all my office is contacted immediately, so that I can step in and intervene if I have to, or work out a solution or something?
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, can I do that, please?
You can just have that, off-the-record agreement. It can't be part of the motion, and we're not agended for that. But if you want to make that request and just have it made part of the record that that's going to be a procedure, that's fine. It's not legally binding, and it has no effect on the giving of the estoppel certificate by this council if you so vote, or by the agency.
Well, we have no desire to make anybody move. I mean, we have long-term tenants there. We want to maintain the property as it has ran. It's ran great since the property was built. A lot of, like you said, a lot of the tenants have been there a long
Does you have a
term.
problem when you call me?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments from the council members? I'll move to follow staff's recommendation with our discussion on the record.
All right, let's vote, please. Pardon me. Let's vote, please. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
All right. Number 5 is discussion and possible action regarding extending the Neonopolis parking validation program for 90 days to Warula Hayward, LLC, located at 450 Fremont Street. This is in Ward 5. Mr. Adams.
Okay, this is an item that is a continuation of prior items on this matter. Back in the first RDA meeting in October, you ratified a letter that was sent by the executive director of the RDA to the representative of the owner of Neonopolis, and that being Rohit Joshi, that indicated, and this was in response to their request to extend the validation parking program that exists in Neonopolis an additional 90 days. And you ratified that letter, and in that letter it stated that we would extend if they met certain conditions. One of those was that they made up the arrears that they owed under the existing validation program, which they've done, and then that they essentially work with staff on and the council on developing and presenting to us plans for the future redevelopment of the project. We have been meeting diligently with Mr. Joshi during this period. He's provided us a lot of plans. I know he's made his rounds to you and briefing you on plans for what he plans to do. And the other condition in that letter was that he appear before the RDA board no later than today to present those plans to you and appeal for an additional extension of another 90 days to extend the validation program, to give us time to then put in place a permanent amendment to the existing agreement between the RDA and the project that would permanently put in place provisions regarding parking. So that's a little bit of the background as to why you have that item here today. Mr. Joshi, he's behind me, is here, and certainly is here to address you regarding this matter.
Thank you. Joshi, what we're interested in is finding out what your plans are for Neonopolis, and it's important that you be on the conservative side, because we don't want to have expectations that will be unlikely to be fulfilled. We've been disappointed with what's happened in Neonopolis over the years. It's been a real issue as far as our downtown development is concerned, so I would prefer, when you're addressing us, to take a very conservative approach as to what we might expect.
Initially, we have about...
Please give us your name.
My name is Rohit Joshi, Joshi Associates, at 8981 Opus Drive in Las Vegas, Nevada. Initially, what I had done was to work on approximately 20 or 30 retail, dining, entertainment tenants, of which about 5 tenants are definitely interested in taking immediate occupation in the front Fremont Street of the Neonopolis and some of the back stores on the first floor. Second floor has been a little tough leasing. third floor is pretty much occupied by the theater and by Poker Dome. So that will be the first phase of our leasing in the next 3 months. I hope to get approximately 5 tenants sign leases and then proceed to have their plans approved for construction, and they could open by the end of next year. So that's the initial quick plan of keeping the project alive and keeping it occupied with some tenants. Overall, though, what we like to do is to investigate either we can get the gaming overlay on the project, and for that we have done a lot of homework on the how we can go forward on the gaming overlay, and as such, the important thing is to get the operator and the financing for it, and we are working on that right now to present to you in the next 3 months or so who the operator could be. We are working with one local company, one regional company, and one international company who are gaming operators, assist us in getting the gaming overlay. So that's a long-term plan over the next couple of years.
All right. Are there any questions of Mr. Joshi at this time?
Yes.
Councilor Weekly.
If you can, for the record, there's been talk that the theater is going away, as well as Jillian's, two of the remaining tenants that are in the building. Can you clarify that for us, please?
Jillian's is not making money right now. We have a 40,000 square feet store, and the reason for that could be is that we just taken over the lot of losses from the previous managers, and we've been keeping we got coming up very current right now on the economics of the Jillian's deal. The theater last couple of months hasn't been good, but before that we had a good year, and we hope to keep that open. Both of them are being kept open as of right now, but it is losing money right now. We aren't getting any rent, and they are getting into a lot of debt, and mainly because there's not enough traffic, and the traffic is not there because the entire project is not occupied or leased. So once that is done, then we can turn this thing around.
Well, I think it's important that, we are definitely informed as to if that's going to happen, opposed to, the hearsay and speculations that we're hearing out there, because we get a lot of phone calls and inquiries about, what's going on the site. And I know you've come into my office and we've seen maybe 2 different versions of what your future plans are for the site. Is there any specific plans that you kind of have nailed down and said, this is it, this is what we're going to do on the site here?
We haven't nailed down a specific project yet, and I think the next 3 months while I'm negotiating with the Business Development Department and RDA, we'll nail down a specific plan. But the initial plan was just to get a few tenants in the front of Fremont Street in existing spaces and some in the back of it, and we are negotiating with one major anchor department store chain. If they come in, that'll be the rest of the space, so we can immediately lease everything up and get it going so that the loss factor is contained, because we are losing a lot of money, not only for upkeep, management, common area, and taxes and insurance, but we are also losing money on the parking garage because there is no income provided for the city, and your debt service is also large. So we're trying to see how best to contain the losses and create more immediate cash flow.
Right. Now, Mr. Adams, could you tell us, for the record, because several of the council members may not have been on the council at the time that the arrangement was made between the city with the parking and Neonopolis as to what our agreement is and what our expectations are.
What Mr. Joshi is asking be extended, and what we've been doing for virtually the inception of the opening of Neonopolis is to extend what has been the discounted rate, and I should have had that number available to you, but I don't have that right off the top of my head.
As I understand it, the city built the garage under the first floor of Neonopolis.
That's correct.
And the city owns the rights to the, foundation of Neonopolis.
We own the land and the garage, and then his partnership that he represents, Werula Hayward LLC, owns the improvements above the garage, and then there's a reciprocal easement agreement that exists between them and us that respects how we operate these 2 facilities jointly, because that's complicated. The roof of our garage is the floor of his building.
Right.
And so there's common elements like HVAC and pipes and all kinds of things, and those are all covered in that agreement.
Now, as far as our recompense as to how we recover the money to retire the bonds that were issued to build the parking garage, okay? We have an arrangement with the tenant of the building which sits on top of the garage to retire that debt.
There's two things that would be potential incomes to us that we could use to retire debt. First is the actual revenues from the parking garage itself. The revenues that come into the garage go against the repayment of debt, well, operations and then debt service on the garage. Secondly, in the restructuring of the agreements that we approved quite some time ago that led to the sale from Prudential to Worula Hayward, we maintain a note in place in favor of the city that was a cash flow participation note that would eventually pay us income above a certain profitability in that facility. Now, the facility has never, ever reached that level of profitability. One of the goals of maintaining that note and keeping that lien in place was to have some level of control as we move forward in the redevelopment of the project. It was our feeling at the time that if we kept that lien, that first note in place, which is a first lien on the property, that should he require financing of anything he does on his improvements, that lender more than likely would come to us and ask to subordinate our debt to his debt, and that gives us some level of control.
And the debt is, what, $32 million?
That note has been reduced to the debt on the garage is a declining principal, and I believe the outstanding indebtedness on the garage is somewhere in the range of $24 million. And the note is a note that's based on a projected level of cash flow, and I believe that note's somewhere around $12 million. I think our understanding of the note is we've never been paid on it and may never get paid on that note. It's simply a matter of retaining control as we move forward on the project.
All right, thank you. Who is Worula Hayward the name of a person?
No, it is just the name of a company that is based out of Delaware.
Does it mean anything?
No, it was Virula is an Australian name. It was a shelf company years ago. It was purchased by a friend of mine from India, and that's why he calls himself Virula Hayward LLC.
But who is Hayward?
Hayward is the name of the city in San Francisco.
Okay.
It was the first asset that was purchased, a hotel project.
Okay. And did Worula Hayward buy the Prudential interest in Neonopolis?
Yes, sir.
How much did they pay for it?
$25 million.
Cash.
There was no way to get a debt because of the fact that you have an encumbrance on the property because you have the ownership of land in the parking garage. And that's why most of the buyers who came to Prudential for the last few years couldn't purchase the property. No lender would lend them the money.
I see. All right. Thank you. Councilman, do you have any other questions? Yeah. All right. Now, are there any other questions? All right. Does anybody want to be heard on this? I see some folks are standing up here.
Just afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, City Council. My name is John Keamy, and I'm an assignee of interest for three matters concerning Joshi and Joshi and Associates. One has to do with a judgment for fraud to induce. My client in that situation was a former pro ball player.
Mr. Dalton?
Mr. Dalton, right. Darren Dalton.
Catcher for the Philadelphia Phillies.
That's right. He has been substantially injured by Mr. Joshi. He's hired me, and I have an assignment of his claim for value. And where we found Mr. Joshi in Las Vegas is that he's been represented by Mr. Adams as the owner of Neonopolis, Joshi and Associates as the owner, by the Review Journal, by the Las Vegas Sun.
Now we know that Worula Hayward is the owner.
Right. There were documents made to Joshi and Associates. But the city, as I understand it, has been negotiating with Joshi and Associates for various issues, including architectural renderings, and there is no Joshi and Associates. It's a defunct California company and has been so for approximately 2 years. So for our perspective, it's to alert the city and to bring truth to the light, and frankly to hopefully get him on record, because we had a contempt order. He did appear last week, and things that he said in his deposition exam are frankly just quite different than the public persona. And in speaking with the redevelopment agency and other city officials, they're two different, they're very distinct. And so if we wanted to, again, bring to the light that Joshi Associates does not have a Las Vegas business license, and they're a defunct California company.
Okay, well, I think those are things that are of concern to us, and Mr. Jervik, I think that you have to interject yourself into this situation too and actually see with whom we're dealing. I mean, I know Mr. Joshi, there he is. That's Rohit Joshi in real live presence, and we got to find out because the first time I've ever seen Warola Hayward, to be quite frank with you, is when I was looking at the agenda here today. I wasn't aware of that particular entity. Let's find out where we stand with the man, because we've got a lot of money of the city that's resting on him at this point in time, because he's the front man for whomever. He's the guy who represented whoever put up the $25 million to buy it. That's real. $25 million is a lot of money, and he's in the driver's seat as far as the future of that property. But because we're his partner, we have to know who we're a partner of. Okay?
Your Honor, I guess my question would be what, according to the claims that were made by the gentleman here, Attorney Jervik, what does that have to do with the item that we're dealing with today, if anything?
Yeah, it may not have anything to do with it. I want to state for the record that we have received some of this information before. I think you've made phone calls to my office. I have forwarded those messages to Tom Green in my office and to Scott Adams, and I have informed your Secretary, Councilman Weekly, that we'll be on top of just looking into it. If it turns out to be something that causes us more concern than we think right now, we'll bring it to the council's attention.
And I will say this, he's not hard for us to find. Let's put it that way. He's on our doorstep on a daily basis. So it's not as though he's ducking the city. He's Mr. Joshi. We know where to get him.
Hopefully it'll come to the light.
I hope so. I hope so. It better. It better. The city has a lot of money in this.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom McGowan, Las Vegas resident since 1954. The success of Neonopolis is key and crucial to the complete success of downtown redevelopment and revitalization of the city of Las Vegas and better. No question about that. There have been many false starts, many attempts that failed so far. Yes, the city's involved in the matter of the parking garage. There have been certain idiosyncrasies that have affected this entire process from the beginning, including, not limited to, for example, the aggressive pace of development, the impetuous, if you will, notion that something can be done overnight. It can't, but that's quite all right. The important thing is the perception, accurate perception of what Neonopolis is. The facility itself, although it has sort of misleading configuration and presence, in effect, it is in reality the Globe Theater of Stratford-on-Avon, renowned. Now, you may not know what I'm talking about, but somebody may. Hopefully the owners, the operators at this point in time. What's more important, most important about Neonopolis is substantive content is much more important than supposition. I don't care how many retail commercial venues come by the wayside, come and go. The important thing is an accurate perception of what Neonopolis is and how to make it work. It is waiting to be done. And I am here to help get that done. It can be done. But if it isn't done by this administration, it'll have to be done by the next administration starting next year. That's when I'll run for mayor. Because we need a mayor, period. We don't need icons, okay? We don't need publicity worldwide. If you want to make a world-class city, you need a world-class leadership. And I'm ready to go with that. I'll help Neonopolis become a success. If he doesn't want it, you don't have to have it. He just pay the bills and leave, that's all. But I think he's more intelligent than that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else want to be heard from the public? All right, Mr. Joshi, what's the story with the Poker Dome? Are they doing well?
They are doing 53 shows a year. About 120 people show up for every show, and they're doing well. And they are very happy with the premises. We had a little problem with the Amerisco company, which is supplying the chillers one time that was shut down, but we repaired that right away. And it was all about, we want to purchase the Amerisco plant, and we've been working on that with Amerisco company as well. We want to control all the HVAC into the Neonopolis and the Fremont Street Experience parking garage, as well as the 2 hotels, Fitzgerald and Four Queens.
All right, are there any other questions of Mr. Joshi? All right, Councilman Weekly.
Thank you, Mr. Icahn. I just want to add for the record that I really, yeah, he's an icon, babe. I just want to add for the record that I really wish that there could be some more emphasis placed on this theater and Jillian's. I mean, you know, when we look at these young folks today who are begging for something to do, I mean, a lot of these kids don't have a clue that this place even exists. And even on December 7th, I think it is, there's going to be a big movie premiere of the Will Smith movie, Pursuit of Happiness, that deals and addresses homelessness issues. And so, you know, people kind of gradually are still hearing about this place. And, you know, I just really hope that whatever it is that you could do to save it, you know, get more locals involved in it. I think it would be beneficial to our community. And so, Your Honor, with that, I'm here, Scott, I guess your recommendation would be for approval?
Yes, I think Mr. Joshi is here as a result of the letter that went out that indicated he needed to present a plan for the extension of the validation program. That we have been validating parking at Neonopolis virtually since the inception of the facility during the entire duration of Prudential's ownership and now through there. So I don't see any reason why we couldn't, to give us more time to work through permanent arrangements for parking with Mr. Joshi, as well as work with him on his long-range plan. My biggest concern would be what would be the effect of not validating on the existing tenants and businesses in that facility. I think that might be onerous for them and not good for what we're trying to achieve downtown.
Yeah, I would tend to lean that way too. I mean, we're put in an impossible position here. We don't want to hurt anybody else. But at the same time, I got to say, with all due respect, Mr. Joshi, your plans are not really plans. They're precatory wishes. I mean, that's what they are at this point in time. So next time when you come back and you ask for an extension, try to give us something with more substance if you can.
I agree.
I mean, I know you're hustling out there. I know that. But I hope that you land some kind of a whale.
I shall.
Right, Kevin.
Precatory. Wow. You are on a roll today, Icon. He's precatory. All right, I'm going to move to follow staff's recommendation, please. Thank you.
Let's vote, please. Opposed? Did I say opposed? If I did, I want to scream out opposed. Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Item number 6 is a report and possible action regarding redevelopment agency projects currently under contract or negotiation.
Mr. Mayor, in the interest of time, I would certainly be willing to offer the abeyance of this item to the next RDA meeting, if that's your pleasure. I'd
Yeah,
be
you know what I'd
pleased to
like
move
to
forward.
do? I'd like you to sit down and give me the briefing, because I would like to incorporate it in our State of the City address, which is going to be made on January 10th.
Certainly.
And perhaps we can have some pizzazz and some of the pictures shown when we're talking about some of these projects. So the viewing audience, which will be on the 16th floor of building number 2 of the World Market Center, with the backdrop of what's happening in the city, will be able to enjoy it. So I'll move to obey it until after the State of the City address, which is the 10th.
I'll support that motion. I'd just like to ask Mr. Adams, if he can, at our December 20th meeting, if he could give us a clear-cut, thorough report on what's happening with DLC Urban Core and this grocery store issue in West Las Vegas, because I know that we're at the end of our ropes with our E&A agreement, and lots of people are asking what's happening. We made a commitment that we would have an answer early fall, and we're at the end of the year.
Do you have that now, Brother?
I can give you what I know.
I think I'd like to wait until, and because I think they needed a couple weeks to get this final answer from these 2 stores that we have on deck. We just needed to wait for their answer, and we're at the end of the ropes with
Sure.
it, so I think we owe it to the community to share where we are and then talk about what's the forecast
Okay.
from here.
Okay,
We'll be
good.
pleased to do so.
Good, I'll move to obey until the first meeting after January 10th. January 17th, that's a motion.
But I will be doing a report on the grocery store at the December 20th.
Please, if that's
Yes,
okay.
Good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any comment on that?
No. Let's vote, please. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 7 is citizens' participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the Redevelopment Agency. No subject may be acted upon by the Redevelopment Agency unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, please give us your name for the record, and we'll limit it to 3 minutes, okay?
Limit 2 minutes. I like that better.
I'll limit it to 2 minutes.
Yeah, you're overdoing it with 3 minutes.
2 minutes.
You're exaggerating in the first place.
2 minutes, please.
Tom McGowan, Las Vegas resident. I came up here to question whether that World Market Center is going to be open to the public on the 16th floor on Saturday the 10th, the day of your grandiose pronouncement of your mayoral address. Is it going to be open, yes or no? Hearing no response from the public, but through the public question from the city council, I assume it isn't open to the public. So that'll be what the public's outlook on that will be. Now, regarding your redevelopment agency matters, and the World Market Center being included in that, by the way, your aggressive pace and your dictatorial way of doing things and public exclusion and public participation in the democratic process is your downfall. Okay? This isn't a world-class city any longer because it doesn't have world-class leadership. That's why. And I will replace you and put you out to pasture. You can go back home one way and permanently where you can't hurt anybody except the ones who are closest to you. Thank you very much. You can have the rest of my minutes that are left.
Anybody else like to be heard? Okay, we'll be back here, let's say, how about 1:15? Okay? And we're adjourned at the redevelopment.